Minecraft Live 2021 is officially in the books. We know everything at this point that they have announced for Caves and Cliffs Part 2, the future update, which we'll get to in a few minutes, and a few other important things to talk about. But before we dive into all of the amazing information that we have to share today, we are here in the Bedrock Guide world. If you are new to the channel, be sure to go ahead and subscribe, like the video, be sure to check out the Bedrock Guide playlist. Tons and tons of great content that will be ongoing into Caves and Cliffs Part 2. We will be relaunching with Season 2 at that point, so you'll be able to jump in right at the ground level with us. So if you'd do me a favor, I would appreciate your support with that subscribe button, the like button, hit the bell and turn on notifications, and you won't miss anything important. So let's get on into that information you actually came here for. Minecraft Live 2021. We're going to kick it off by starting with the mob vote. In the week leading up to Minecraft Live 2021, we got information about 3 different mobs: the Glare, the Olay, and the Copper Golem. From what I could see on Twitter and on Discord, the general community favorite ended up being the Olay, and it proved itself to be so with the vote. I was actually a little surprised because the vote was actually pretty close. In the first round of voting, the Glare, unfortunately, because it was actually a pretty cool mob, ended up getting voted out pretty handily. But in the final round between the Copper Golem and the Olay actually only got 54% of the votes. So it was very, very close. Now, I will say this. All 3 mobs, very, very cool. I would have been happy with any one of them. But it's good to know that Blue Olay is going to be in the game. So let's talk about the Olay. What is this little guy? He's a little flying creature, and he's blue, which is the best color they could have picked. And similar to villagers that can hold items in their inventory, you can give an Olay an item, and it will fly around and try to find matching items laying on the ground. It will pick those items up, and it'll either bring them to you or to a note block. You can assign them to a note block, and when they get to that note block, they will drop off items. The great thing about this is you can assign multiple Olays to different note blocks, which will give a really interesting way to auto-sort items in the game. The Olay will not be coming in the Caves and Cliffs Part 2, which we'll talk about here in just a minute, but it will be coming in the next update sometime in 2022. We'll go ahead and give a quick nod to Minecraft Dungeons, but if you want to hear a little bit more about this in detail, let me know in the comments section and maybe we'll make a specific video for Dungeons. But they announced a couple of new features, which I'm very excited about: seasonal adventures and the tower. Seasonal adventures will be added as they continue over time, but the great thing about seasonal adventures is if you miss a season, they're not going to take it out of the game. You'll be able to go back and play it over and over again, and that way, if you're like me and can only play the game occasionally, you're not going to miss out on anything. You'll be able to earn something called adventure points, and it sounds like you'll be able to be ranked on some sort of a leaderboard. More details about that will be forthcoming. There's going to be some small UI changes as well, and some new features called flare and emotes, which are really, really fun visual additions to the game that will customize your character even more. The thing that I'm really excited about for Minecraft Dungeons is the new tower mode. It is a free-to-play addition to the game, so you don't have to buy any DLC for it. And you will start at the bottom of the tower, which will have 30 levels with absolutely no gear. And as you progress from level to level, you will find and acquire new gear along the way that will help you to become even more powerful. And so it is a challenge for you to try to progress from level 1 all the way up to level 30 to the top of the tower and earn that sweet, precious loot. All in all, very, very fun things coming to Minecraft Dungeons, but that's about it for now. Earlier in 2021, they had to release a very sad, and I know it was a very heavy video for them to produce, announcing the fact that Caves and Cliffs indeed needed to be split into 2 parts. Given the fact that a lot of people were working from home at that point, and they didn't want to put unneeded pressure on their developer team, they ended up delaying the Caves and Cliffs Part 2 until later this year. I am happy to announce today that they have officially confirmed no release date. We have a release window, but we have no date. So they said in the Minecraft Live presentation that Caves and Cliffs Part 2 is nearly finished and will be releasing sometime within the next month or 2 of the release of this video. So I've been thinking this for a few months now, that it was going to be coming out between November and December, and it sounds like that's pretty accurate. Some really interesting things that they are adding into Caves and Cliffs Part 2, aside from the caves and the mountains, the cliffs. Seed parity. This is absolutely huge. When you load up a new Minecraft world and you designate a seed for it, or you generate a random one, in Bedrock Edition, it is different than it is for Java Edition. This is not going to be the case going forward. When you load up a Minecraft world in Bedrock Edition, let's say you name it seed number 5. If you load up seed number 5 into Java Edition, it should be the exact same world. That way, if you find maybe a really cool mountain or something that you want to share with your friends and they're on a different edition of Minecraft than you, they should be able to load up that same seed and enjoy that same experience as well. I think seed parity is one great step forward to finally merging Bedrock and Java Edition to be the same version of the game. We're still probably a long way off from that, but this is a good first step. Biome blending. Let's talk about that for a minute. Caves and Cliffs is going to introduce biome blending, which in the past, if you had an existing world, a lot of times when you load up new chunks from a future update, the chunks will have a hard border and a hard line, and it will just look a little bit messy. They have found a great way to blend the blocks together so that it will be a seamless transition between your old, existing chunks and new chunks that will be loaded into the game. And speaking of existing chunks already in the game, if you have a world that you're absolutely in love with, this will be very exciting for you. They have found a way to generate brand new chunks directly below your existing chunks. Now, don't get too excited. You're not going to see anything above the surface. This is going to apply, I imagine, to everything below Y level 0. Because in Caves and Cliffs Part 2, with the introduction of the brand new cave generation, the coordinates will go below Y level 0, and that's how they have found a way to include brand new generation below existing chunks. So this is a very cool feature. So happy that they have figured out how to do this. One thing that they surprisingly did not mention in Minecraft Live 2021 that was announced last year is bundles. Now, they've mentioned that Caves and Cliffs Part 2 is almost ready. It will be releasing very soon. And the fact that they didn't mention bundles kind of leads me to believe that that's not going to be a thing, at least not now. I think that they are going back to square one. They're going back to the drawing board. They're going to figure out a better way to do inventory management, and then maybe we'll hear about bundles again another time. That's not confirmed, so don't take my word for it, but the fact that they didn't mention it is a little bit telling. So now the information you're really looking for, the next major update that was announced is going to be called the Wild Update. I honestly was shocked by this, but after hearing what they had to say and thinking it over, it does make a lot of sense. I was hoping for an end update, but maybe that's going to be coming in a future year. I have my reasons to believe that it probably will. While I wasn't extremely excited about some of the things that were announced, the things that I am most excited about are the things that they have innovated the most on. There is a lot of really great innovation this year, and if you were just casually watching the show, maybe you missed some of these things, but we'll go over them now. Ancient cities. Now, I don't know if this is going to replace what was known as the Deep Dark, or if it is part of the Deep Dark. I didn't quite catch that, so if you want to let me know in the comment section, that would be great. But ancient cities are a brand new structure, a brand new location for us to explore in the overworld. They announced that the Deep Dark was actually going to be delayed and not included in Caves and Cliffs Part 2, which when I first heard, I was a little sad, but I actually completely respect it, and I'm excited that they're taking their time with it so that it can be everything that it should be. And so far from the footage, oh my goodness. It will be terrifying, and it will be an enjoyable experience if you like being scared. In Minecraft Live 2020, we saw a sneak preview of the Warden and the Skulk sensors. Since then, they have expanded their inventory to have new Skulk variants. The first thing that they introduced was the Skulk Catalyst, and this is a very cool concept that could lead to an interesting farm. The Skulk Catalyst will sense when a mob has died nearby, so for example, if you end up killing a zombie, it will calculate the XP that would have been dropped from that zombie, and the Skulk Catalyst will spread Skulk around it. You can then go and mine the Skulk blocks that were around the Catalyst and gain XP for them, or if you want to use them for any kind of building, you can use Silk Touch just like you can on most blocks. So I'm already thinking of ways that I can use these blocks and use them in farms and builds. The next one is an interesting one. This is called the Skulk Shrieker. If you make too much noise around the Skulk Shrieker, it will trigger it to emit a terrifying noise, and a terrifying status effect. This status effect is called darkness. It is a pulsating darkness that overcomes your ability to see. I don't know a whole lot about this status effect, but I had somebody suggest to me in my chat that maybe night vision could overcome it, but I've got a feeling that they're going to do everything they can to keep you from being able to see while down in the ancient cities. The even more terrifying thing is if you continue to set off the Skulk Shriekers, they will summon the Warden. And this is the innovation that I'm talking about from this year's update. Typically, when you think of a hostile mob in Minecraft, they just kind of pop into existence. There's open air, and then suddenly a mob appears. Never in the existence of this game have we had something quite as cool and terrifying as the Warden. If you set off the Skulk Shriekers too many times, the Warden will emerge from the ground in the dark while you are being blinded and start hunting you. From there, you will need to distract it with things like snowballs, or you'll just need to crouch and make as little noise as possible, because if he finds you, he is going to make quick work of you, especially if you don't have decent armor. I believe in the footage that they showed at Minecraft Live that there was unenchanted armor on the player. King B-Dogs, what are you doing, man? You always enchant your armor, but it took him down in 2 hits. The other great thing about ancient cities is there will be unique, and I think brand new, types of loot. I am really hopeful that maybe this will be something that's game-changing that we'll use all the time. I cannot imagine this game without shulker boxes or my elytra. I use them every day, and that's one of the first things on my list to try to get as soon as I start a brand new Minecraft world. I really hope that this is one of those things where the loot from the ancient cities is something worthwhile and something that we will use all the time. I have my other speculation as well about ancient cities because they did mention that the center part of ancient cities will all have the same feature. I've thought this for about a year now, ever since they introduced the Skulk blocks. They are oddly very similar to Endstone and in portal blocks and things like that. They look very similar from the color to the texture. They're not exactly the same, but they shouldn't be the same. They should be their own unique block. But I'm thinking that maybe the Warden is guarding the end portal, either from us to go in there or for something from coming out, which would be really interesting for an end update. Again, that is all speculation at this point, so don't take my word for it. Maybe craft some of your own theories and let me know what you think is in the center of every ancient city. The next part of the update they announced was surface biomes. Now, to what extent this is going to get updated, I'm not too sure yet. They didn't show off a whole lot, which is pretty typical of Minecraft Live, because a lot of these things are still in the concept phase and not fully developed. They did show some concept art for birch forests, which are pretty different than they are now. The trees are a little bit taller. They've got branches. It looked like maybe they had some mushrooms on them as well. They were a little bit more open and allowed some more light to come in. Their whole goal with this update is to create even more immersion into the game. The location that they showed off in this update announcement pretty heavily was actually the swamp, which I know a lot of people were really happy about. A few years back, there was a biome vote, which I voted for mountains and snowier snow and goats, but a lot of people voted for swamps and frogs and boats with chests in them, and I'm very pleased to announce that you guys are finally going to get those features in the game. Frogs are actually a very, very cool addition to the game. This is one of those areas where their innovation comes to life. We've had variants of mobs from time to time. If you think about something like a zombie, if you put a zombie in the water for too long, it's going to turn into a drowned. If you go to a desert, you're going to find a husk. If you go to a snowy biome, you're going to find a stray. So we've had variants of mobs in the game before, but nothing quite like this. If you find a tadpole in the water and you take it to another location, depending on where you take that tadpole, when it grows up, it will become a frog specific to the type of biome temperature that you are in. So for example, if you are in a swamp, you're going to get a brown frog. If you're in a snowy area, you're going to get a green frog. And if you're in a tropical area, you're going to get a white frog. The other really cool thing about frogs is that each specific frog type will have a different drop. They have not said what that's going to be yet. Let me know in the comments what you speculate each type of frog could potentially drop. Another thing that they announced is fireflies. I absolutely loved when they added particles in the air to the Nether update, and those particles are different depending on what type of biome you're in. It just makes more immersion. It makes the world feel more alive. Very, very cool stuff. They're finally doing something like that with the overworld with fireflies. Now, I do think that there is a little bit more visual polish that can come to fireflies. It's just a couple of pixels on the screen. I was imagining something a little bit more like bees. Maybe not the same size. Bees are pretty big, but maybe a small version of that where they could have at least a 3D model of a firefly. So hopefully they'll put some more polish into that over the next few months while we're waiting on the first betas to drop, but we'll have to see how that develops. Either way, very cool addition to the game and a good food source for your frog pets. I've been playing Minecraft for a very long time, and I don't remember the last time they ever introduced a new tree type. Well, that wait is officially over as they are introducing the mangrove trees. They exist in swamps, specifically in mangrove swamp biomes. These trees have a unique texture to the logs, and they've got a brand new block type, roots. They discussed a variety of ways that they could implement roots, and they ended up going with a block form. They did discuss options, for example, of making them similar to chorus fruit, where they're not an actual true block form. That would have been cool to see, but I'm actually really happy that they introduced a block form. It's just another texture that we can use for fun things like roofs, terraforming, a whole variety of things that you can use roots for. When you craft your mangrove logs into planks, they are very similar to jungle wood. Actually, I kind of got them confused at first when they showed them off on the screen. I'm like, no, that's jungle wood. I'm thinking, again, maybe they'll do a little bit more visual polish to make them more distinct over the next few months before they release the first beta. They always do this kind of thing. They introduce a new block, and then they make tweaks before the final release. Another block that they're introducing into the swamp biomes are mud blocks. You can find them naturally on the ground, or you can make mud blocks by taking dirt and saturating it with a water bottle. So we officially have a renewable source of mud. And even more exciting, once you have a mud block, if you take it and place it on top of the brand new dripstone that was introduced in Caves and Cliffs, it will pull all of the water out of the mud block and turn it into clay. This has been a gripe for a long time that clay is so rare and so difficult to get, and that's why a lot of people don't build things out of bricks. I think those days are officially over as we can make a renewable source of clay to form bricks. And last but not least, to cover all of the things that were announced today, we have a new block type, the mud bricks. Again, I am always happy to have new block types, new color palettes, new textures, things to work with to further enhance our builds. I mean, can you imagine the days before Blackstone and Basalt? I can't. I don't know what I did without those blocks. So that's it, guys. That is everything that we know at this point. Again, they never announce everything straight out of the gate. They always hold some things back so that they can further develop and polish the updates that we know and love. Give me some predictions and let me know in the comment section of some things that were not announced today that you think might be coming in the future of the Wild update. And don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to follow the Bedrock Guide playlist so you can check out all the great content on this channel. Thank you so much for watching and have a fantastic day.